Capitalism is literally the root of all evil because it's programmed us to think that we have to do so much to survive in this world, right? The grind, the hustle. Can we put it to rest? Seen a video of this dude crashing out. Very valid, by the way. He said that in our society, you owe $200 to 20 different people, entities, corporations every month, right? When does it fucking stop? At the end of the video, he was like, but if you fuck that up, if you don't keep track of all of the payments that you owe for no fucking reason, you then go to jail. There is definitely a difference between working hard and striving towards like you wanting more in life. You want to be a millionaire. There's a level of grind and hustle that's gonna have to happen versus having to grind your fucking ass off just to simply survive and pay your bills. Insurance, scam, right? Paying for something month over month and never getting into an accident, let's say your car insurance, and you get in an accident one time out of 7 years, your insurance goes up and you have to pay. How come I haven't accumulated some level of balance? What the fuck are we talking about? Every day it feels like there's a new bill. Every day more debt. Every day more money extracted from a bank account. Don't even get me started on how much everything fucking costs. It just continues and continues to increase. We're tired. I'm so tired. I'm so tired.
I need someone to explain to me, like I am 5 years old, how it makes sense that a literal doctor who went through undergrad, medical school, years of residency, and is a full-fledged doctor prescribed my son a life-saving medication that he needs for a diagnosis that he has received. And my insurance gets to say, no, he does not.
I tried to record this 2 or 3 times already and it went way too long. So let me try to actually explain this to you like you're 5. A long time ago, a company tried to pay their employees more. The people that own shares in that company got angry. They said, no, I want that money. You're supposed to create value for us. We don't care that creating value in your company by having well-paid, happy employees does create long-term value. You need to give me money now. The Supreme Court decided that those shareholders were right. So now every single company has one purpose if they are publicly traded, and it is every single quarter to produce shareholder value. And when you do not have universal health care, when your health care is for profit, companies will do any sort of backbending, they will do any sort of cognitive dissonance, they will do any sort of logic bending to create an environment where they can massage the language to say, if we give your son this service, it is going to be a net detriment to us, so we're going to find a way to say that it's not necessary. It doesn't matter if it is or not. They're going to find a way that legally they're permitted to say that it's not necessary because your son's life is not that important when shareholder value is on the line.
Hey, what's up, guys? I just wanted to make a quick video today. Something has really been, kind of plaguing my mind. This is my first time actually making a video and recording myself talking, so it's a little weird, but hey, I think I'll get through it. I had like an epiphany the other day. I was thinking to myself, why was capitalism pushed on us so heavily as children? Were we ever really given a choice? Like from the time we were kids, we were taught the same formula: go to school, get a job, work hard, buy more, repeat. And if you struggle, they tell you it's your fault. But what if the system was designed that way from the beginning? Like, what if capitalism, and excuse me for saying it slowly, but I don't want to butcher the word, but what if it was implemented in America, just not for economic purposes, but also just like the whole mindset of it. Like the mindset was carefully sold to us through like advertisements, entertainment, schools, and even like social status. Think about it. Why are people celebrated for overworking themselves? Why is exhaustion normalized? Why are we taught that our value comes from productivity? Maybe we weren't forced into the system. Maybe we were conditioned to love it. And the craziest part is most people never question it.
When you said capitalism is the best form of economic organization the world has ever seen, it made me think of a very particular picture from history. In 1900, King Leopold II of Belgium determined that the entire land of the Democratic Republic of the Congo was his personal property. And within 10 years, capitalists came out, they exploited all the land, extracted trillions of dollars of resources, 15 million Congolese died. For reference, the Holocaust killed 6 million people. And the most famous picture from that time in history is a rubber worker staring at the disembodied hands of his 8-year-old daughter because he didn't hit his rubber quota. I'm willing to bet that man worked harder to hit that rubber quota than anything you've ever worked for in your entire life. And I think when you say this is the best system that's ever been created, to me, that's the result. That's what happens when there's no rule.
This is life in late-stage capitalism. I wake up at 8 a.m. and immediately get hit with my morning thought-advertisement.
Drink Shaboinky juice. Half the calories, twice the Shaboink.
I then fight my 8 roommates for space. Since Zillow now owns 100% of homes, this is our only option for living. For breakfast, my duplicate brings me my morning ration of trough slop, 100% processed. Then I go to my job as a full-time plasma donor. To pass the time, I watch my favorite 24/7 live streamer.
Yo, it's Dystopian, and today we're gonna be siphoning memory from a duplicate. Hopefully there's something good. Oh, childhood trauma. That's whack.
Just then, world-famous Lonely Hand model Mimi Moneybags walks in. Looks like she's doing a Make-A-Wish for a 36-year-old man dying of diabetes.
I can't believe I'm meeting you IRL. Can I use my last memory unit on you?
How pathetic.
She makes 15,000 gallons a year. That's a lot of water. Figuratively selling your body makes so much more than literally selling it. Then my girlfriend leaves me because I couldn't make my monthly girlfriend subscription payment.
You need to start donating more plasma.
I'm already donating the legal limit.
Well, why don't you just siphon some from your duplicate?
Maybe I should become a live streamer and move into Zillowville. Then I could probably afford a premium girlfriend and only need 3 roommates. Then I download Sleep Premium so I don't get hit with any dream advertisements. And that's my day.
The reason why governments around the world are so hyper-fixated on people having babies is because their populations are in decline, and those populations in decline mean that the billionaires have less employees, and they are making less money because there's less consumers, less employees, and there's less people to take advantage of. Let's look at the graphs. Let's start with the United States of America, shall we? You see how this is smaller than this? That's gonna be a problem. Guess who's paying for the pension? These people. Guess who's getting the pension? Oh, these people. But there's more people here than here. So then how is that gonna work? How is that gonna work? Japan. Oh, would you look at that? Would you look at that? We have this to this. Yikes. Oh, Canada. We're all so screwed. You see this right here and you see this right here? It's not looking good, Brev. But I'm from Europe, but you're still cooked. But you're still cooked, but you're from Europe. Now we're here at the millennial gen, who is trying to do what their parents and grandparents did, work their 9 to 5, buy a house, have kids, go on their little vacation, but guess what? They can't afford it because the capitalist structure keeps making it absolutely impossible to live. Rent, up. Groceries, up. Gas, up. What do you mean you want us, Gen Zs, to have 3 kids? Out of whose paycheck? People working 2-3 jobs just to live on their own, let alone have 2 kids. So I just find it curious that billionaires and millionaires are supporting policies like the overturning of Roe v. Wade. Now, why would Jeff Bezos need women to have unwanted pregnancies to term and then have children be put into the federal system? Is it because perhaps they need workers in order to make money, and a declining population means that they're going to have less workers, which means they're going to have less profit and less consumers? Oh, that makes a lot more sense. So see, friends, everything is about economics and politics at the end of the day. It's not about spirituality. It's not about ethics. It's about bottom lines. And that's what the capitalist structure can always guarantee you, is that the top 1% will consistently look out for their best interests. You might be thinking, oh, but they swore on the Bible. They don't care about the Bible. They care about getting bodies into their warehouses so they can make money. And on top of that, they're not going to give you a bathroom break. Not in this economy. So to all my fellow Gen Zs, Please keep this in mind before you have kids. If you want to have children, you need to come to the conclusion that you can A, afford to have kids, B, your kids aren't being raised on an iPad. Because I have some concerns about kids' brains being trained to process algorithms and to be trained like robots, especially in a time where AI is becoming more prevalent and governments are having access to AI programs that are going to be very prevalent. And if your child's brain is being trained to follow instructions like a robot and the government has access to AI, I wonder what could happen there. But everything is just an alleged theory, because I can't prove any of this. But take with it what you will.
I need you to understand that you're in a system that you don't understand. No one ever explained it to you. You're not dumb and you're not stupid. You don't understand the system. It's what you don't know that you don't know that's killing you, but you think you know. There's a difference between making money and building wealth. You make money during the day, you build wealth in your sleep. It's compounding, it's stocks and bonds, it's ownership, it's home ownership, it's real estate. The biggest business in the world is real estate. So if somebody's watching this and go, I don't need to watch this thing, man. I'm not part of capitalism. I hate capitalism. Well, you're going to be eaten up by it, because whether you think you're part of capitalism or not, it's a part of you. You live in a free enterprise democracy. You don't care where you are in the world. I mean, even China and Russia, who say they're communists, are using capitalism. Look how China got all these people out of poverty. That was capitalism and free enterprise. Whether you are in the system, whether you acknowledge the system or not, it acknowledges you. And if you're not mastering it, it's mastering you. So capitalism, first rule, capitalism is a gladiator sport. I mean, there's good capitalism and bad capitalism. Good capitalism is where I benefit and you benefit more. Selling you a hairbrush. I invented it, or somebody else invented it. I have a patent on it. Somebody else has a patent on it. I marketed it. I developed it. And I decided through market research that it cost me $3 to make it, $2 to market it. And I wanted $3 of profit. I'm making this up. And the market research says that you're willing to buy it for $9. I'm making this up. That's fair exchange is no robbery. That's capitalism and free enterprise, and everybody won. So good capitalism is where I benefit and you benefit more. Bad capitalism is where I benefit and you pay a price for it. It's repressive, like slavery. That's bad capitalism, but it was capitalism, right? So I need you to understand you can do well and do good at the same time. So some people, again, saying, I'm not part of this thing. What do you think human capital is? You are human capital. What do you think you're doing every day? I'll break down this phrase, I'm making a living. I'm making a living. When you go to work every day, you're exchanging that human capital you have for a paycheck, which is lower risk than becoming an executive or a business owner or a crazy person like me, like an entrepreneur, but you're trading your human capital for a check. You are in capitalism. Capitalism is a gladiator sport. It's non-emotional. So stop being emotional about it. It's business, right? So here's the first lesson. You're at a negotiating table. Every day in your life, 20 times a day, you're at a negotiating table. It's just that most prices are pre-negotiated unless you're in a third world developing country or you're an entrepreneur. Every time you sit down and do something, buy something, get gas, whatever, you're at a negotiating table. The person on the other side of the table is trying to figure out how they can get the most out of you by giving you the least value. You're trying to get the most value by paying the least forward. Did you get that? So whether you're negotiating with a vendor at a street corner or on a dirt road in Caribbean nation or wherever, or whether you're going to a CVS store or whatever and buying something off the shelf or paying for gas, that's what's going on. Now, a good negotiation is where both people leave the table slightly annoyed because it was a good deal for each one and not a great deal for anybody, and nobody got completely screwed. So I need you to understand that this is the way the world works. I want you to go to my podcast and watch how I break this down. You've got to master this system. You've got to understand you live in a free enterprise. You cannot even watch this video without the phone you paid for. The government didn't give you the phone, the radio network, the television network, all the devices you're using, you paid for that. All right, civil rights, John Hope Bryan, I'm out. This is less than 5 minutes, a lesson on life and how you can master it. Let's go. Civil rights.
Would you like to live off $7.25
I used to
an hour?
work for $4.25 at Haagen-Dazs.
Right.
Then I
and that
went
was
and
a
worked
very
at
different time.
Burger King for $4.75.
And how much do you make
Then
now?
I make millions today. Then
Right,
I
and
worked
that's
at
why you
Bob's
like
Big Boy.
capitalism, because we're not all making
but
that.
But
And
the
that's my
difference
point.
is, but
a
the difference
millionaire is
between
critiquing people in poverty and saying you should work harder. You should work. You know, you can be lean. We can't all be it.
My hope is that you believe you can change and improve. That you believe you can upgrade yourself. That's my belief.
You know what? That's what rich people like you want to keep telling us.
But
you can be just like me. Do you want to
Yeah.
be like me? You work hard enough
I'm not
to
saying
be
that.
like me. It's not very realistic.
It's actually, you wouldn't be able to be like me because
You're
you wouldn't work
talking
that
down to
hard.
people like
Would
us.
you work that hard?
You don't.
Would you,
I'm not going to tell you. I don't have to answer that.
If you
I
don't
don't have
choose
to measure my I don't have to measure my work ethic to be worthy.
So much of our day-to-day stress, anxiety, depressive symptoms are tied to living in a capitalistic society. And so this doesn't mean all. There's other things outside of that, of course, that cause a significant amount of stress, but there's a large chunk of stress that almost all of us feel tied to just trying to access capitalism. And a lot of that comes from this system that requires us to pay to access basic needs, right? You have to have a certain amount of funds and resources to be able to have housing, to be able to have water, to be able to have clothes, to be able to have your core needs met, let alone like education and things that make life feel beautiful, like art and connection. All those kind of things require even more resources. So we live in this society that doesn't allow us to like start from a point of like connectedness and safety, right? So there's a core need to build those things up. And when you live in a society that separates those things so extensively, it leads to so much stress and trauma on our system. And that's why we talk so much about building these like connected webs in our community, building relationships in your community to change some of those dynamics where you can, because there's this greater thing that takes everything over. And it's not as simple as like, do these 3 things and you'll defeat capitalism. It requires a lot more time, effort, and connection. It requires showing up in space, a thing that's not available for everyone because of the systems we live in. And so that's why it's so important to use the privilege and space you have to advocate where you can, to stand up where you can, and to put in the time and effort when you do have those resources to be able to build those relationships, build those connections, infiltrate and support a community around you. And once those things happen and can spread more, then we're able to kind of continue to build off those things. And that's how we truly support our mental health, is by making sure we find ways to get the core needs of society met with things like universal healthcare, with things like education extending into college, with things like access to all these systems around us, things that already exist with like the fire department and library, but expanding those and insulating them so they're more supportive. And we have to advocate and step into those spaces because as an individual, we can't control those outcomes, but as a community, we can change things.
This is such a shower thought, but remember how back in history class we would read about indentured servants? And we would kind of pity them because the masses were these indentured servants who worked on the kingdoms, the land of these powerful lords who like owned all these people essentially. It was like slavery, except it wasn't, you know, they weren't working for free, but they were essentially slaves on the land because their whole life they would spend working on the lands for these lords and would eat like stale bread and potatoes and be plagued with all these terrible diseases while the rich basically ate like the fruit of the land. What's crazy is that today, the wealth gap is bigger between the masses and the rich / the lords than it was back in the indentured servitude days. And it makes you wonder, in 1,000 years, are people going to look back at our society the same way? Instead of land, we work on essentially modern day kingdoms, which are companies. And the same concepts prevalent in those kingdoms days are still existent today. For example, when one kingdom overtakes another, such as one company overtakes another, one of the rules of the book is that you have to get rid of the ruling class and start afresh. And that essentially is what you see happen when one company acquires another. They get rid of the execs at the top and they replace it with their own people. Most workers around the world, like the average American, live paycheck to paycheck, while the elite keep manipulating the system so that they can not only hoard wealth, but pass it down to their descendants, just like how kingdoms were passed down back in the days. And even though we have more choices today than to eat a ration of bread, it's an illusion of choice. Because the healthiest foods, like organic foods, are usually only accessible to those who can afford it. And our beliefs currently are that the rich earned what they have, you know, they are harder working than everyone else, etc., etc. Back in the day, it might have been something like the rich were appointed by God, or the rich were more intelligent, etc., etc. But essentially these beliefs are fed to us. It makes you question, 1,000 years from now, when people look back at our society, they must think the same thing as we think about these indentured servants back in the old kingdom days.
I'm going to make modern society make sense to you. They taught us in school that we escaped the Dark Ages. Kings and lords and peasants working the land they'd never owned. That was the past. Barbaric, primitive, over. Modern capitalism liberated us. Now we were free citizens, individual, sovereign, independent. You could own property, build wealth, work for yourself. The feudal age was dead. That's what they told us. But like all things, the pendulum swings. Here's what actually happened. They didn't abolish feudalism. They rebranded it. The king became a corporation. The lord became a private equity firm. The castle became a boardroom. And the land? BlackRock bought the land. You can't afford to buy a house because the new lords already own it. and they'll rent it back to you for the rest of your life. Your 9 to 5 is the new field. Your paycheck is the new harvest. And just like the medieval serf, you are allowed to keep just enough to survive the winter and show up on Monday. The rest goes up in taxes, in rent, in interest, straight back to the Lord. You are not a free citizen. You are a serf with a smartphone and a Netflix subscription to keep you from noticing. And anybody who understands history knows the elite didn't abolish serfdom. They expanded it to include everybody and called it employment. We may not see each other again, so make sure to follow this page.
As a Londoner living in the US, this is the greediest country I have ever lived in. So here's a list of things I've had to pay for which make no sense and would send the European mind into absolute psychosis. Let's kick it off strong with number 1. I pay processing fees for my rent. I pay my rent and then I pay $6 to process my rent. Why am I paying you money to take my money? Now the next thing is I didn't realize how expensive healthcare actually is. But one day I had a really bad toothache and I went to the emergency room. First mistake. They scanned my insurance card, put me in a queue, and when I finally get to see a doctor, he looks at my tooth and says, yeah, we can't actually help you. You need to go see a dentist tomorrow morning. I said, cool. 2 weeks go by, I get my bill. $600. Luckily, I had insurance, so I paid $120. But think about this for a second. I paid $120 for a doctor to tell me he can't help me. Now, this one takes me off beyond my imagination. I stayed at the Intercontinental Hotel in Chicago, stayed there for 2 nights for around $200 a night, plus I paid for valet parking. But when I got my bill, the numbers just weren't adding up. On top of all the money and taxes I paid, they still charged me a $32 resort fee. What is a resort fee? And when I'm asking the receptionist what is a resort fee, nobody can answer my question. And what's even worse is it's not a flat fee, it's $32 per night. The next one was kind of annoying. I got my car towed, $350. Pro tip, do not let your car stay there overnight. Now the next one is tip culture, and since living here I've learned to leave a 10% tip. But think about this for a second. Your boss is so greedy that he doesn't pay you not a livable wage, doesn't pay you a survivable wage, then guilt trips us, his customers, into covering the rest of your wage for you. The level of greed you need to have to even think of that concept is literally something only Mr. Krabs would do. Now honestly guys, this list is 25 things long, so if you want to see a part 2 or you like content on finance, make sure to drop me a follow. Peace.
What is capitalism? Capitalism is a pyramid scheme. You've doubtlessly heard of pyramid schemes before. Pyramid schemes are illegal, a type of fraud where new investors are brought in and the money they bring is paid to investors higher up in the pyramid. Bernie Madoff is one of the most famous examples. He made off with billions. Multi-level marketing schemes are a legal version of the same idea. In a multi-level marketing scheme, the people down at the bottom of the pyramid do all the work, while the lucky few at the top of the organization collect the lion's share of the money for themselves. The rich DeVos family, who run Amway, are just one example. Well, that's essentially how capitalism works. Some people get confused. They think capitalism is commerce, the use of money to exchange goods. They believe that handing someone a few coins instead of bartering is capitalism. It's not. They had coins way before capitalism existed. Have you ever seen a Roman coin? Emperor on the front? Ancient Rome didn't have capitalism. Ancient China? They had coins too, but no capitalism. Capitalism didn't start developing until the 16th century. Before that was feudalism. You've heard of that. Europe from the fall of Rome to basically the Enlightenment was predominantly feudal. It was an arrangement where a feudal lord siphoned up as much of the wealth as he could from the hard work of all the serfs living on his land. Not capitalism. Capitalism is a modern phenomenon. It's only been around for a few hundred years. Capitalism is an economic system designed to concentrate capital. That's why it's called capitalism. Capital. Money accrues to the private owners of the means of production. Ownership. Property rights. The people who own things use their money to make more money. When money brings in more money, that is the concentration of wealth. Think about concentrated orange juice. Take a lot of something and make it fit into a smaller space. Instead of money going into a lot of hands, it goes into fewer hands. And those fewer hands get bigger and bigger piles of money. That's concentration of wealth, concentration of capital, fewer and fewer hands. Bill Gates, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Warren Buffett. Fewer hands, bigger piles of wealth. Like the serfs and slaves, modern wage workers get the short end of the bargain. We do all the work while someone else gets all the money. This is why our grandparents and great-grandparents called workers who sell their labor wage slaves. Writer David Graeber said that if someone like Aristotle were magically transported to the present day, he wouldn't see much difference between workers selling their labor and slaves. He says Aristotle would probably just think we're all slaves. Something to think about. It was slaves who made the pyramids. And just like in a pyramid scheme, in capitalism, the money travels up. The people at the bottom, like us, do all the work. The people at the top get all the rewards. We make all the things and do all the things that bring in the money that goes up through the pyramid to the CEO and the shareholders. Wealth and capital concentration. That's capitalism. Like a pyramid. That's why capitalism itself is a pyramid scheme. Please don't forget to like, favorite, subscribe, and sign up for my free Substack, where you can get more information in every post. Let's make them pay.
People are not clear on capitalism because capitalism is a very vicious system, but what it does is it embroideries its viciousness with all sorts of elusive terms. For example, many of us would support capitalism because we actually believe that in a capitalist system, there's a chance for us to get the same amount of money as Rockefeller gets, because we're told that under capitalism there is equality of opportunity. So that we feel that if this year we didn't make as much as Rockefeller made, then we got to work a little bit harder, and next year we're going to make it. But if we carefully examine a capitalist system, we will see that it's based on exploitation, because the viciousness of capitalism, and the reason why once black people examined we can never be for it, is that under a capitalist system, the fruits of those who labor are enjoyed by somebody else. That is, those who do the laboring, the fruits of their labor, they don't enjoy it. As a matter of fact, we could say under capitalism that the fruits of the labor of the toiling masses are enjoyed by those who do not labor. And again, as black people, we have clear examples of it. If we were to get the fruits of our labor from slavery, just from slavery, all we got to do is go to Nixon and say, hey, look, you give us the fruits of our labor from slavery and we forget the score. We would be the richest people in the country. Again, because under capitalism, the individual exploits the labor of the people. Now, people get confused because this is a capitalist system and it's a developed system. It's a technological system. So they combine capitalism with technology and development, and they think that there is no other possible way to develop this rapid terms of development without going through the capitalist route. But certainly we have examples that show the opposite of that. China is a clear example of that. Cuba is. North Korea, North Vietnam. These countries certainly in Africa, where countries have chosen the socialist path, such as Tanzania, Guinea, Congo-Brazzaville, Algeria, we see that there is another way to develop and get the same type of things that we have under the capitalist system, but in a system that does not exploit each other, where all of us work and the fruits of our labor are divided evenly. Let me show you how backward capitalism is. It's a backward system. We could make two statements about capitalism to show how backward it is. About America. America's a capitalist country. It's thoroughly capitalist. It's an imperialist country. But we could say that, number one, America is the most technologically advanced country in the world. And that's an undeniable fact. It's a truism. It's a truism. America is the most scientifically developed country in the world. And right under that, we could say a second fact, which will show you how backward America is. We could say that America, in 1945, made for her people better cars than she does in 1973. And if you analyze this, you'll see how vicious the system is, because here's America with its great technological skills, its great scientific ability, and rather than making a safe car for people that will last 20 years, which they can do with the scientific knowledge that's at their fingertip, they rather take this knowledge and build a car which will break down every 2 years, so you're forced to buy another car. Thus, you see, under capitalism, what they do is they take their scientific skills, and rather than using it for the benefit of the people, they use it to further exploit the people. And certainly this type of system is too backward.
Not gonna lie, when I really start thinking about the harsh realities of life and living under capitalism, I get so sad and so fatalist. Like, to begin, we all only exist because somebody else decided either A, they wanted to get their rocks off, or they thought that our existence was the next step in their personal, emotional, whatever sort of fulfillment plan. So now here we are. That being said, we live in a society where you quite literally have to pay to survive. Everything that you need to survive is behind a paywall. Clean air, fresh water, food, shelter, healthcare, etc. All of your basic needs are blocked behind a paywall. You are dropped into this system without your consent, and there is no way out of it unless you are independently wealthy. And if you are independently wealthy at the degree to which you would be able to circumvent capitalism, that means that you exploited so many other people that now you are able to live off of your exploitation, which is a problem within itself. Which then brings me back to where most people fall. So then you're stuck working for 30, 40 years of your life just to afford these basic things. And then the things that you would think would be prioritized, like community or friends or family or pursuing your hobbies or interests, you can't do those because you're too busy trying to figure out quite literally where your next meal is going to come from. And then this just continues until you get so sick or so sad or a combination of the two or more things that you die. That's like the only way that you can clock out of the system is to unalive. It's like, what the heck? Like, I feel like living on a planet where we quite literally are given everything that we need to survive and then being roped into this system is just terrible. Like, we don't have to live like this. It makes me feel very hopeless, and it's hard for me to see a point to doing anything.
So late stage capitalism has people romanticizing captivity. I've come across a couple of these TikTok videos that say things like, date idea, you kidnap me and keep me forever. This video has almost 50,000 likes. Now, I'm not here to diagnose strangers on TikTok. I myself play a lot of visual novel games with yandere themes. So unfortunately, I'm not judging from some moral high ground. I'm right there with you. But I think the responsible thing to do is to question why fantasies like this are so popular right now. You see, under late stage capitalism, even our fantasies have a budget. Obviously, the appeal is not a realistic depiction of being kidnapped. The fantasy is, what if someone wanted you so badly, you didn't have to compete for affection, housing, food, attention, stability, or a future? There's no uncertainty or unknown. Someone is choosing that for you. What if your bills, your rent disappeared because someone kept you? Loneliness disappears because someone's obsessed with you. Obviously, in real life, that's horrifying. It's captivity. But sometimes fantasy takes shape of whatever reality has stolen from us. And right now, people are starved for security, starved for time and connection and spaces where relationships can develop without everything costing money. So we're not imagining freedom. Some people are imagining being possessed by someone, or at least someone appealing enough to make the cage feel velvet-lined. All this has me rereading Alexandra Kollontai. Kollontai, one of the early Bolshevik feminists, wrote constantly about how capitalist society deforms love, marriage, and family life. In Communism in the Family, she said that capitalist marriage has been truly a chain for working people. Her vision of a new society was love as a union of affection and comradeship between equals. And in her thesis on communist morality, she wrote that jealous and possessive attitudes towards the person you love had to be replaced with camaraderie and respect for their freedom. Obsessive love looks a lot more appealing when ordinary life feels this unstable and disposable. So just like Kollontai and the early Bolsheviks creating a new socialist society, deciding what that would look like, we need to ask questions. What kind of society is making love feel like ownership? There's this very famous early Soviet poster that features a quote from Lenin: "Every kitchen maid must learn to govern the state." It's not about romance, but it is about the distribution of power and labor, and a reflection of what society was before this. Lenin argued in 1917 that ordinary people, women especially, those dismissed as just laborers, cooks, unskilled workers, everyone should be brought into the capability of governing and deciding what society looks like. We're all deserving of something better. That we're all capable of learning, and keeping power in the hands of the elite and the kind of people that creates is the real danger. He wrote that we must break the idea that only the rich are capable of running the state. Talking about and creating a more communal life also becomes about freeing women from private dependency. Freeing all vulnerable people from private dependency. When we think about our future, it can't be about finding another man, a better man to own you. We want to build a society where no one has to be owned to survive. But yes, like, enjoy your spooky little fictional captor if that's your thing, but ask the hard questions. Why does that sound relaxing? Why does being chosen obsessively sound better than being free casually? Why does the fantasy of losing autonomy sometimes feel less frightening than the reality of paying rent, dating apps, isolation, and the collapse of public life? Again, I don't mean to kink shame, I mean to capitalism shame. The fantasy is not the problem, but what causes us to lean into these fantasies specifically might be.
There are entire aisles at the grocery store where every product is owned by the same big money. Where you can buy any product on a shelf and the money will all flow to the same people. I went to the cereal aisle and I only found one family or founder owned brand and the rest were mega corporations. And every time I did this, y'all were asking for charts. So I made some charts and I'll show you where to find them. But real quick, what we're talking about and why we're talking about it. Like if you go try to buy deodorant or body wash or shampoo at Target, almost every product on the shelf is owned by a giant corporation like Procter & Gamble, top shareholder, or Johnson & Johnson, same top shareholders. And it's not just Vanguard and BlackRock, it's all these other big money names. And when you buy a product from Procter & Gamble, the money that was in your pocket, in your local community, in your local economy, then goes to Procter & Gamble, which gets used to do things like pad the CEO's compensation, $5 million extra in 2022. It goes to things like doubling their stock price over the last couple of years so that all the shareholders and all the executives and the insiders all make a shitload of money. None of that money that you spend on those products will ever come back to your local community. It's gone. And it's gone into the pockets of people like Morgan Stanley, Bank of America, Northern Trust Corp, Norges Bank. And sure, you might hold a couple shares of BlackRock ETFs where you might see some appreciation because of your Procter & Gamble stake and whatever. You're making chump change. If we're talking the cereal aisle, it's the same story. Stock price is more than doubled. Executive compensation is millions and millions of dollars to all their different executives, which they justify by saying all these other companies pay their executives really well. And then they do some super shady math to make it look like the CEO only makes 200 times their average worker, but it's actually a lot higher because they include all their other executives' multi-million-dollar paydays in their average worker calculation. And it's like this in every aisle of the store. Almost all the food, the products that you buy are owned by brands that have all the same top shareholders. It's all just mega corporations and all the money is going to the same big pockets. None of it will ever come back to you or where you live or your community. That's why I do this research, is to find family-owned brands, founder-owned brands, where when you buy a product for them, it's going to a family that does good things with it in their community. It is circulating most of that money back to their employees, to their community. And not all family-owned brands are perfect by any means, but it's a hell of a lot better than supporting these guys. So, I did a thing. We updated our link, and we got a spot on the website now. The link will take you to the resources page. And on the resources page, I'm going to be compiling spreadsheets of all of the brands that we've covered so far and a lot more too. We got some secrets in the works. There you'll find links like this to spreadsheets that have all the different brands in different categories that we've done. And it'll list it out by which ones are mega corporations, and then down lower you'll see where all the family and founder-owned brands are. Read the disclaimer. I'm not perfect. But goddamn, it is time that we started bringing our money into our local communities, supporting smaller businesses that are run by real people, such as Nature's Path. Shout out to Nature's Path. They're the shit. Panda Puffs, go to. So, y'all asked for it. Y'all got it. Hopefully that'll help you support some small businesses because